What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is Jeff LightsyJr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victor Formation. Here with my guy, Mr. CFL himself, Cobi Orr from the CFL Podcast. Cobi, man, how's it going?
Hey, everything good. I thought I was gonna have a lot more fireworks today, but it is what it is. Still a good day.
Yes. It was still, I would still call it a record-setting day for the SWAC as far as recruiting goes, because this is the most we've ever, at least during my lifetime, and I'm pretty sure during your lifetime too, Cobi, that I've ever seen people get up for recruiting for not just one, but several SWAC schools, like several SWAC schools, from Alabama A&M to Jackson State, obviously, Grambling, Southern got a couple of their guys back. Like, this was a big day for recruiting for all schools in the SWAC. Alcorn, we can't forget about. Valley did a bunch of damage during the early signing period, but all of this went down today in the SWAC. It is great to know. And what were your biggest takeaways, Cobi, of what took place today as far as recruiting with the SWAC? What are something that kind of stood out to you?
I would say it would be huge just stockpiling talent the way that he did. I mean, the guys just kept coming out of nowhere. Kids I didn't even know they offered, like, just 3-star guys coming out of nowhere left and right. And I was just like, my God, how have they not run out of scholarships yet? Like, Hugh has stacked up in a major way. So that's what really stuck out to me.
Yeah, man. Like you said, it was crazy because, like, I felt like these SWAC schools had 1 million scholarships, like you said. Grambling snagged some big kids. Grambling, I put out a tweet earlier. I think Grambling might have the tallest wide receiver room in the FCS. I ain't saying it's the best, but I think it's the tallest. They grabbed another kid that's 6'4", Tyson Bordeaux, 6'5". They have like 2 other 6'3" and taller receivers. Like, Grambling's receiver room is huge. And then they went out and got another quarterback to go along with their UCLA transfer. They got the number 1 dual threat in the South Florida to come in, 3-star young man that's coming in. The Grambling had Power 5 offers. This was a big day just for everyone. I think the biggest shocker to me was the lack of fireworks. Like you said, we were told by Coach Prime, we were told fear the J hat. We were told that there was some kids that we thought, some 5-star high-level talent were going to Jackson State that decided to go elsewhere. What were your thoughts on that?
So I kind of knew both of them wasn't going to come, right? Like, I just knew that was just a little too far-fetched, but I really thought they were going to get one. I didn't know who. I put my money on Shamar, because Shamar, I have people inside Shamar was really close, like really a lot closer than people think. But Texas A&M had to throw a bag at him for him to switch like that. Like, they threw a bag at Shamar Stewart, and I don't blame him. If that's the motivator. I don't know his family's financial situation. Sometimes that money's needed. So I'm not, I don't dislike these kids just because they chose other schools. But clearly, the money was the biggest thing with Shamar Stewart choosing Texas A&M. But I think he was really close to Jackson State, or so I've been told. As far as
Cobi, I was just going to ask you, sticking on Shamar Stewart really quick. Was it true that he was actually on campus? Is that something that you heard? Did he actually take a visit to Jackson State?
I did not hear anything about him being on campus, so I can't confirm that. I've never heard about him being on campus, and I don't even think that really played a part in it, because the kid that they signed last night before National Signing Day did not take a visit to Jackson State at all. He just flipped just like that. So I don't think that visit really played into the Shamar.
Yeah. So I had heard, there were some rumors that maybe he was on campus, maybe he wasn't. I'm not for sure. Who knows? But this was a great day for everyone. And I'm specifically, I know a lot of the teams did their damage during the early signing period. Obviously, Jackson State got Travis Hunter during that time. Mississippi Valley did really good. Valley did really, really well during the early signing period. And then FAMU did a lot of their damage during the early signing period. But during this signing period, Alabama A&M really did some work. I want to show you guys this graphic that was sent to me via Mo Carter. He's a reporter down there in the state of Alabama. because we don't talk. At least I don't talk about Alabama A&M. Cobi, I don't think you do a whole lot either. But Alabama A&M, the kings of the spring championship. A lot of people discredit that spring SWAC championship. It says Connell Maynard and Alabama A&M signed 37 players. 30 of those players already on campus. 11 from the Power 5, 15 from the Group of 5, 7 from junior college, and only 4 from high school prep. Dude, what do you think Connell Maynard is down there cooking in Huntsville, Cobi?
So their schedule is really brutal coming up this season. Very brutal, right? Especially in the first few weeks. So I think he understands he needs to go out and get kids who can contribute right away and, focus less on high school, at least for this year, because they still have enough talent to where they can do some damage. So I'm not surprised that he went out and got all of these transfers. But what stuck out to me was that they got 13 defensive backs. 13 defensive backs.
A lot of DBs.
Listen. And they needed every single one of those guys because you saw just how atrocious the defense was last year. But yeah, like as bad as as tough as their schedule is for this upcoming season, it made sense for him to go out and get these transfers from Power 5s and Group of 5s and to load up, especially on the defensive side. You needed to make that happen. Offense is going to be fine regardless, but defense, they had to take that route.
Well, offense isn't going to be fine regardless, though, because we know that they're losing one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the SWAC in Aqeel Glass, but a lot of people are putting a lot of faith in Jaron Williams, the transfer from Miami. Then you also have Casey Thompson, who was Quentin Casey, the transfer from Jackson State. Cobi, just from what you know about both those players, who's someone who would you give the slight edge over as far as the quarterback going into the spring for Alabama A&M? As we know, after spring ball, anything could change. Guys hit the portal after the spring game, after spring ball. But what are your thoughts on that?
So with Quincy, very talented arm, right?
Yeah.
As we know of him.
Yes.
Very talented arm. But I can't say who will be above the rest. Like it's hard to call. Like this is really an even battle in the QB room that Coach Maynard is gonna have to figure it out. And I have confidence that he will. But you get the kid from Miami who is a bigger threat just because he can run with that football as well as throw it. But yes. I don't know who you give it to right now. Now I've heard whispers that the kid from Miami has the slight edge, just from what they've been seeing, but it's still way too early to call right now. Quincy Casey has had a year under that system, so he knows it a little better. He's had a little bit more time to get the feel of everything, so I think he'll have the advantage, and I think they'll give Casey the shot, but it won't be easy.
I like Quincy Casey at Jackson State a lot. I knew he wouldn't have a chance of winning the quarterback battle came the fall, but during the spring, he showed me a lot. I always thought he was better than Jalen Jones.
Of course.
But it just is what it is. I guess they played the veteran, but I knew with Shadori coming in, that was kind of a different drag in the tackle. And him going to Alabama A&M, I really, really loved that. And then, of course, they bring in a quarterback. So, that's going to be, like you said, an interesting battle to follow throughout the spring. And then even going into fall camp, if both guys ended up still being on the roster come fall camp. But, Cobi, you kind of broke the story, shifting to Jackson State a little bit. You kind of broke the story of this young man being on campus and being a member of the Jackson State football team. This is Frankie Burgess. He's a transfer from Maryland. Now, you did a recruiting video about him. Just what is Jackson State getting in Frankie Burgess?
What they are getting is a speed rusher who is very dynamic, very quick, great feet, and who's going to cause a lot of disruption for any tackle that faces him. This kid is very, very disruptive. I fell in love with this tape when I've seen it with him being at Maryland. Had to go on Twitter and search for it because he ain't got no much time at Maryland. But when I saw it, I'm like, he's a gem. Like because there's multiple ways to rush a quarterback.
Absolutely.
And he's a speed kind of guy. That's why pass rushers come in all shapes and sizes. So when I look at him use that dip move, because that's the signature move, that shoulder dip, it reminds me of like Von Miller. Like it's Von Miller-esque. You feel me? Like that's how effective he is with that move. His footwork is just as crazy. That little Euro step he got on the inside is going to fake a lot of tackles out. If he does not lead the SWAC in sacks or is one of the guys, he will definitely lead the SWAC in quarterback hurries. Like he is going to be hard to stop. Very hard.
You believe he's that talented? You think he's like, because you got to think the JSU is replacing James Houston, and I think it's gonna take a collective effort because it's. I'm not saying that there's not a guy that can end up being a James Houston type of stat monster, but at least not mine. But you think this kid can be that type of stat monster and rack up that many sacks and tackles for loss and QB hurries?
I think he's a kid who can get double-digit sacks, and if that's not the case, he's definitely going to lead to some statistical category as far as the quarterback go. Whether that's sacks or hurries, whatever. But he's gonna be that guy. I'm confident in saying that. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit I don't got no problem. But I'm confident in that.
Yeah, man. I think, like I said, the one thing JSU could count on every single game last year was the pass rush. Like that was like they couldn't really count on a whole lot of other things every single game. Sometimes the secondary get a little shaky. Sometimes the running back, the offensive line was shaky pretty much every game. But that pass rush was their signature. Their pass rush, they could get after the quarterback no matter what the down distance or score was. They was able to make plays at the quarterback. So bringing in pass rushers was something I saw they put at a premium, whether it was bringing in the transfer from Florida State, whether it's bringing in this transfer from Maryland. They are looking because they're losing a lot. When you lose an Antoine Owen and you lose a James Houston, that ain't easy to replace. That's tough.
Mm-hmm. It's not at all.
And so I'm really interested to see how they're able to do some of those things. Now, Cobi, JSU was supposed to release their schedule today, and it would have went perfectly aligned with the recruiting was taking place. But one thing that came out today from Jackson State is that they're no longer a part of the Southern Heritage Classic. They will no longer play the Southern Heritage Classic against Tennessee State in Memphis. Now, it's not saying that the game against Tennessee State, which has been going on for decades now, isn't going to be on the schedule. That's not what that's saying. It's just saying being a part of the Southern Heritage Classic, the event, the spectacle, the classic itself, they can't do it because, and from my understanding, I think it has a lot to do with them taking that SWAC Classic. What did you think when you heard about JSU no longer playing that Southern Heritage Classic?
I was really shocked because I enjoyed that game a lot last season. I loved the vibe of it. The fans traveled well. It looks like they filled up Memphis Stadium pretty good. Like I just loved the overall vibe of the game. I mean, Prime versus Eddie, that's box office right there.
Absolutely.
And just like you said, that's not to saying that the game itself is going away, but it was just box office, right? So I didn't get it, and I still wanted to know a little bit more details behind it because, like I said, I only found out about it like a few minutes ago before we even started this live. But I think the only good thing that comes from this maybe is that maybe now you can add another home game to your schedule because from what I see during the SWAC, a few teams only got like 3 home games this season, and that's
rough.
Yeah, that's really rough. So I think maybe that's the benefit of getting rid of the Southern Heritage Classic. But other than that, I don't see it. I don't see why.
Cobi, if you had to guess, and I think I'm gonna have a guess too. JSU schedule comes out on Monday. Do you think it's actually going to be a good, like, challenging schedule, or do you think it's going to be kind of weak sauce? Do you think they're going to softball it a little bit?
See, a part of me was saying if they schedule a D2 school automatically is weak. I'm gonna just be honest with you. Like, you have the number 1 recruit in the country. You have the number 1 slot receiver in the country. If you're serious about getting these kids to the next level, you can't have Travis Hunter going up against a D2 receiver. You can't have that. How does that look? Right. So I think it'll be a pretty decent schedule. I know that they aren't really going after. I don't think they scheduled a Power 5. I know that for a fact. But I think it'll just be decent. I don't think it'll be too hard. I don't think it'll be cupcake just because of Travis and Kevin being there. You have to expose them to better competition than Edward Waters or whoever or a Delta. You have to expose them to better competition. So I think it'll be just average. But I'll tell you what I'd love to see for an out-of-conference game. If you don't want to go to North Dakota State, or all of these top FCS schools, please get that rematch with ULM. At least do that.
Yes.
You feel me?
Yes. I would love if they had the rematch ULM because it was the one blemish. Obviously, Celebration Bowl is a different thing, but it'd be if they could do a rematch with like ULM, or if they it doesn't look like they're gonna do that, but a rematch with like South Carolina State, like wouldn't those be pretty marquee? I think you could do really good numbers whether both those teams travel to Jackson or one of those teams travel to Jackson, the other you went on the road, especially ULM is up the street. Like I think those games will be huge, and it bolsters your competition. Like you said, it's not an Edward Waters where you can just run over, or a Delta State like where you just run over them. It's like, okay, you kind of get into this like, yo, this is what it's like when we play a hard-nosed physical team. These are the key areas that we needed to fix coming off of last season, and this is how we got better. I think spring ball is going to be huge for Jackson State because they've got a lot of new pieces. It's going to be huge for everybody. It's going to be, but the two biggest teams I think spring ball is going to be huge for, Jackson State and Grambling, because they have so many moving pieces. Grambling feels like they bringing in 50 new players on a team that only has like 100. It feels like they're bringing in 50 new players. So that spring ball is going to be big, and it's going to kind of juxtapose that quarterback position because Grambling got questions at QB. In Jackson State, we're going to see how these guys gel together, what they look like in I call it year 2, but year 3 technically under Coach Prime, and what this new offense is going to look like, because a lot of people are forgetting they're bringing in this new air raid offense. And Cobi, what do you think that air raid offense from JSU is going to be hitting for this year?
If the offensive line can be better than what it was last year, if this offensive line is as advertised, I think it's going to be pretty deadly with the personnel that they have, because we know with that air raid, it takes time to develop. Like you need time in that pocket. So if Shedeur can get that on a consistent basis from the Semi Moalas, the Evan Henrys, the other ULM starter that they got,
it came in today,
came in today. If they can get consistent production from those guys, which I have no doubt in my mind that they can't. Oh, it's up. It's up.
Yeah.
Now we're going to see some fireworks. Now we'll probably see what we've been wanting to see all last season up until T.C. Taylor got the call plays versus Alabama A&M. We've been begging for that offensive coordinator, the first one, to let those kids off the leash and expose those talents that you have at receiver. So I think this new guy, I think he knows what he has, and he knows what he has to do. So all you need is for that line to get better, and I think you'll see fireworks for sure.
Yeah, that line has to get better, but I think the offense is definitely going to take a step up. I think it's going to be hard to recreate that defense from last year, though. Obviously, they gave up plays in the Celebration Bowl in the secondary, but that pass rush, it's going to be hard to lead the SWAC or lead the country. Damn, just the SWAC. Lead the country in sacks. Like, that's hard to repeat from year to year. Like, it's hard to do that 2 years in a row. I think the defense may take a step back. What do you think?
I take a different approach, right? I think I'm actually excited. Like I look at the pieces that they've lost. James Houston, that's big. That's very big. 20 and a half tackles for loss and 14 and a half sacks. That's hard to replace. But I mean, Katron Evans returns, right? Coinus Miller up in like that middle is solidified. Aubrey's there. Juriante Davis, the transfer from Middle Tennessee State, his production went up every level he played, from JUCO to Middle Tennessee State. His production has always went up. He's there now. And then of course you got Mr. Burgess, who we've been talking about. But I think the weakness was really on, I hate to say this because he's not a bad player, Gaddy's side.
It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Like Gaddy came in with some high accolades. They made him like a captain. They shopped him around during the SWAC. But then during the season, Gaddy didn't make a bunch of plays. Like he wasn't on the highlight reel a lot.
He was in the backfield a lot, but he just wasn't. He wasn't the guy coming up with the tackle. So I think that's really the side that you may lack on. But I'm still pretty. If Frankie Burgess can be what we think he is, I'm still a little confident. Plus, you add the fact that C.J. Holmes isn't a liability in the secondary, in the slot anymore, because we know a lot of the big plays that they gave up was on who?
CJ, hey, that's facts. Yo, that is facts. I'm glad you called it because, like, CJ Holmes got this invite, and I wish him the best in his professional career and everything. But we got to talk like plays were made on CJ Holmes. Like, you talk to a lot of those South Carolina State guys. What, like, they'll tell you there's some plays being made on that guy's side of the football.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is CJ Holmes is actually performing very well at that NFLPA. Whatever game he's in now, he's performing very well. I've even saw clips, and what I took from that is he just wasn't gonna beat out Al Young, and he definitely wasn't gonna beat out Nugget. So they put him in the slot, but he did not belong.
He's not a slot corner.
He's not a slot corner. So yeah, that was a weakness for them, right? And that's why it was so unfair to him because everybody's looking at him like he's trash and he's just not meant to be in that place. But the thing is, now that he's gone, and now that you have three guys who are rated the top corners at their level of play, Travis, Nugget, and Keelan Kennedy, right? Or even if you don't want to use Keelan Kennedy, the guy that they just got from St. John's Bosco, he can play that slot. Now you don't have a weakness in the slot anymore. Now it's really pick your poison. If you want to throw to Kennedy, please do. If you want to throw the Nugget, please do. And please throw at Travis. I think they just got a lot stronger.
Yeah, that young man's name is Tavion Beasley. Tavion Beasley. A funny story about him. He told a reporter that he literally just got an offer from Jackson State last night and committed on the spot. So,
right.
Like, that's pretty funny. He was like, yo, I've been talking to the coaches for a little bit, and they told me they were going to offer me, and then they finally did it, and I got to talk to Dion on the phone, and shoot, I told him I'm going. You know what I mean? Like, I told him I'm going, and that tells me a couple of things. One, the prestige of Jackson State is unlike it's ever been in a very, very long time. Like Deion Sanders, hearing that name, and then seeing the production on the field. It's not just the name at this point. Jackson State won 11 games last year. Like, they did what they were supposed to do on the field outside the Celebration Bowl, but they did what they were supposed to do on the field during SWAC competition, and it's paying off in recruiting. But the team, what was that? Was it something you were about to say?
Oh, yeah. The thing I like about Tavion himself is that coming from one of the top high school programs in the country, you're not scared of playing anybody. You're not scared of lining up against anybody because you faced Power 5 talent on a weekly basis. Like, who is like, that's what I like in this kid. When you look at his tape, he really should be a 4-star prospect. I don't know why he's a 3-star. Maybe it's because of his size, but he should be a 4-star prospect. So when this kid comes in and he lines up in practice against the Quay Davis and the Malachi Weidmans, he's not worried. If you give this kid game time, right, and he lines up against whoever he's going to line up against, I'm now confident in him just because I know he's coming from a program that's gotten him ready for the next level of play. That is an underrated signing by Jackson State.
Yeah, the St. John Bosco, like you said, it nationally ranks in like the top 5 every single year. They've got, kids to go high level Power 5-star, 4-star guys, really highly ranked guys coming out of St. John Bosco out there in California. Now, one of the team that to me made the most noise, not just today, but just in recruiting in general, outside of Jackson State, Travis, Kevin Coleman, we can't deny that. But the G-men down there, Exit 81, Grambling. Grambling's got a lot of momentum right now. Coach Hugh Jackson hit the trail hard, and he brought in a ton of talent. What are your thoughts on Grambling and their recruiting class?
I absolutely love this for Grambling, and I love this for the SWAC. I love that Hugh hit the ground running as soon as he got hired. Like, I think the same day, later that day after he got announced as the hire, he went after the number 1 JUCO quarterback, the number 1 dual threat quarterback in JUCO, or something like that. Then Holloway came right after. Like, he just hit the ground running, and he's been very successful at it. And I think I know at this point, he could really be the biggest threat to Coach Prime recruiting wise for the next couple of years, because he did what he was able to do this year, but next year he's going to take that next step. You're going to see a couple of 4-stars. He might even pull off a 5-star. He's right there, especially if he can have a great season like how Jackson State had last year. So, man, I just love this for Grambling, and I can't wait to see what Tavion Williams does, especially because he did my J head a little bit wrong. And I saw that.
No, was that him or was it his teammate? I think it was his teammate at the same school. His name was like Machias or something like that. Yo, he took the J hat, and I think I have that. I have that video. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up. He took the J hat, and he wasn't feeling it.
Because I thought
wasn't feeling it too much.
I was about to say, like, hey, now.
Yeah, like, and I asked people, was like, yo, was this too much, or is this all in good spirit, or what? Let me go ahead and here it is. Let me see if I can make this show you guys. So this was a Grambling commit. This was during his commitment ceremony at his high school, and this is how he felt about the J hat. Let me see. Let me go ahead and press play on this. So that's him. He picks up one hat, drops that one, picks up another, tosses that to the side. He's going to rip open his shirt here in a second. That hat, tosses that one to the side. Rips open the shirt. That's the JSU shirt. Takes out the Jackson State hat. Tosses that one.
It's doing so much. Like, it was so long. Like, bro, get to the point. And
then finally pulls out the Grambling hoodie. So, yeah, he's headed to Grambling. Grambling, I mean, like, their recruiting class is star-studded. It's got some big-time players. What you think about that? Do you think he made it too much about Jackson State, or was you a fan of all the theatrics?
Well, that's something we see every Saturday, right? Throwing the hats and everything like that. But, yeah, I think Jackson State and the J-Ad, with the Twitter page, I think that was a little jab there. And I honestly, in all seriousness, I do love it just because that makes for great like rivalries and it's time to meet under the next season. It's gonna be, people who remember that. So I really like it. I love it, but it was definitely a little shot at.
I like, I'm all about the theatrics personally. I don't know if you know, but I'm all about the theatrics. I'm all about, bulletin board material. I love it when people give others bulletin board material because Jackson State and Grambling obviously played this fall. I think he made a little bit. I think Jackson State fans and the Twitter and them taking over all of this, not just SWAC, but just national recruiting, got to that young man. I think he was like, yo, man, everybody don't want to go play at Jackson State. Mm-hmm. Some of us want to go play at Grambling. Some of us want to go play with Hugh Jackson. Some of us want to go play off Exit 81. And here's what I think about y'all shirt, y'all hat, and I'm just
listen, that is the downside, honestly, to Jackson State and their success. Just the same way you got all these kids who want to be a part of it, you got kids who want to beat you. Like you got kids who want to be on the different end of that. Like they want to embarrass all of national television. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that's what comes with it. Jackson State just got to accept that.
It definitely comes with it, and it definitely comes with a program that is like that's flashy. Jackson State is a flashy program at this point. When your head coach is Deion Sanders and your starting quarterback is Shedeur Sanders, who got iced out grills and wears, designer sunglasses walking into games, like you are now officially a flashy program. You ain't no way of hiding it, and they're not trying to hide it. And when you get guys like Gillian Wallow on the sidelines, and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and all, like you are like somewhat of a diva of a program. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of like the bad thing. And it's not at all, because everybody can't be blue collar, hardworking. Like some of us gotta be, some of us gotta shine. You know what I'm saying? Like some of us, we like to get our shine on, we like to floss or whatever. So, that's what Jackson State is. But with that comes, whether it's haters or comes people that want to destroy or get a little dirt on you. You know what I mean? Like they want to rub a little dirt on those minks and stuff. And that's what I think we see that's coming from Grambling. I think Grambling is like building a program, to me, that's like the opposite of Jackson State. Yeah, they got some flashy stuff. They got some cool stuff, but they're looking like they're trying to be more the hardworking, blue-collar, Eddie Robinson, Coach Rob built Grambling. Even like their National Signing Day video that they put out with Coach Rob yesterday. They put it out yesterday with Coach Rob narrating. And I was like, yo, they're trying to get back to the OG where they were dominating 15 HBCU championships. What are you seeing?
Honestly, I see the same thing. I love it. Like, I don't think Q is like 100%. Like, he'll get his like little remarks, and they're not too.
Absolutely.
They're not like the Patriots organization or anything like
Nah,
that.
hell no.
But
Like that.
but I love it. I think it's exactly who Hugh Jackson is. Watching him at Hard Knocks when he was back with the Cleveland Browns, I see similarities. Like, yeah, you're on point with that. I think they're just a blue collar program who they'll be flashy in a sense, but they're really just about keeping their head down and letting their play do the talking.
Yeah, I just can't wait because, like I said, Grambling seriously might have the tallest receiver room in all of FCS. I mean, their average height is probably around 6'3.5", 6'4". I mean, these guys are big, but I think that's key because I don't think they know how good a quarterback play they're going to have, and they won't know until the fall. Like, this is Coach Hugh's first season. They're bringing it. I mean, they brought in transfers. They're bringing in high school recruits, but the accuracy of these quarterbacks is still in question. There's a lot of like dual threat guys, and having those bigger targets allows a quarterback to be off a little bit, maybe a little too high, maybe a little much to the right or to the left. But when you got a guy 6'4", he can make a play on the ball that may not be the most accurate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that as well. And they're gonna have to figure that QB situation out fast. I don't know much about Holloway other than while he was at UCLA, they had like 6 quarterbacks on the roster, so he didn't really even get a chance. We didn't really get a chance to see what he could do. I will say this. Noah Bowden isn't really. I know he's not going to give up that easily. I mean, this is a kid who is endorsed by Bruce Eugene. Like, back when I did the interview, Bruce was with Bruce. He was endorsing Noah heavily, and he wasn't. It wasn't really a fair situation to him when he got thrusted into that situation at Grambling last season. So I would say he's not really out of it yet. He could come back and maybe impress you, but this is something that they're gonna have to figure out quick because I don't know. All these quarterbacks, somebody got to hit. That's that's the positive side of it. Somebody got to hit. I just don't know who right now.
Yeah, that's what's gonna be cool about going to the spring game. And if you guys were watching, some of you guys were talking about Hugh Jackson was on the Pivot Podcast. And for those of you, the Graham fam in the chat right now, first of all, thank you all for tuning in. We're talking CFL, we're talking SWAC recruiting. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. But for the Graham fam in the chat right now, and for the Graham fam watching, Hugh Jackson said at the spring game, it looks like the cast of the Pivot Podcast will actually be coming to the Grambling spring game. So that means Ryan Clark, who is a Louisiana native, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor will be in the building. That's what it sounds like. Now, obviously, they haven't announced it, but on the podcast, those guys are excited. Hugh invited them, and they said, we'll be there. We'll book it. So, Graham fam, you could possibly have 3 former NFL players in the building, and those are just those 3. Hugh was going to do it up for the spring game. He's going to do it up with the Graham fam. Some of those former Grambling Tigers going to be in the building. But that's big to have those Pivot Podcast guys in there because the kids at Grambling are going to be like, yo, like I can be like this dude. I want to learn from this dude. We saw how big it was for Jackson State to have all those NFL guys at their summer camp last year.
I will say this. Channing need to make his way to Jackson State before he do Grambling. Let me say that.
Why you say that?
Channing better make his way to Mississippi before he goes to Louisiana. I need to say that after what he said of problems on that show. But this is big. Like, this is really big. I love the fact that he was going to do this. And I think the same way Coach Prime had his connections with the Charles Haleys and all the Hall of Famers that he played with and the legends that he played with, he was going to do the same thing. Why not? You have these connections. You know how far it's going to go with your players and with recruiting when they see these guys pull up at Grambling. So, yeah, I think he needs to pull out all the stops too. Why not?
Yeah, man. And it makes sense. And like you said, it does a lot for your program. It jumps them forward leaps and bounds. Like, and the thing is, I think Grambling is like this close from being back at the top of the SWAC. But like, now, granted, Jackson State are the reigning kings. Jackson State's they got the crown. To get the crown, you got to take the crown. So they're the guys, and they're bringing back a whole lot of guys. But Grambling, I don't. Once again, we really don't know what the team's going to look like come fall because they're going to go through a spring camp, and then at the spring, some guys are going to leave, some guys are going to be added. I mean, even after spring camp, we saw Jackson State add two of their best players, and Malachi Weidman and Aubrey Miller. So we have no idea who's going to be added to what roster come fall camp. But what he's doing at Grambling is big, and getting these connect like that is appealing to a recruit. That lets them know, like, one, I can come get that HBCU experience I can't get at other schools, and I'm going to get coached by a coach who has these connections. So maybe during the offseason, I can go train in Louisiana and Baton Rouge at Ryan Clark's gym. Or I can go, learn linebacker techniques or business ideas from a guy like Channing Crowder. Or talk to someone like Fred Taylor, who's borderline Hall of Fame, who I think should be in. So these kind of things appeal to people. Like, these kind of things are big. One school that we're not talking about a lot that is going to be right at the top of the SWAC next year is FAMU. Cobi, what are your thoughts on FAMU's recruiting class, and what are your thoughts on FAMU heading into the 2022 season?
So I like FAMU's recruiting class a lot, especially I forget that kid's name, but he's an athlete. He looks like a slot receiver. I did a video on him. It got corrupted, so I had to take it down. But there's one receiver that they got who I'm a big fan of. I think his name is KJ. I want to say KJ. He's going to be a dynamic force. But I was disappointed, not in FAMU, but I really thought they were going to pull off Christian Miller.
I wanted it. Ooh, I wanted that so bad, man.
I wanted that so bad, man, because that kid, first of all, you're looking at a kid who needs to be a 5-star prospect, right? Just a dynamic defensive tackle who you don't really see much defensive tackles moving the way that he does. Like, just a fast kid, and I would have loved to see him and Isaiah land together. So I wanted that so bad for FAMU, and I thought that if they had got Christian, now that would have set things off completely. But it's still not a bad class for FAMU overall. But I just really wish that they got Christian Miller. So I was a little disappointed for that.
Yeah, I really would. Christian Miller would have been big. I think Georgia winning that national championship is kind of what flipped them. But I know FAMU was definitely in it all the way up until the end. I know that. But I'm really like Coach Willie Simmons. He isn't the flash that is prime. He doesn't have the NFL stuff like Hugh Jackson, but he has built him one hell of a football team down in Tallahassee. Like, they've got a really, really great football team. They've got their quarterbacks back. They've got skilled players. And honestly, they're 1 point away from being in the celebration mode, not Jackson State. That's big. Right. Like, that's huge.
Quarterback play, really, like, if we're being honest, we all know Rashawn didn't play the best in that game. So, but you got him coming off of the momentum that he had towards the end of the season. He started playing really well. You got him coming back. You got Jeremy Musso, who I've heard really good things about. I've seen some practice clips on him from, what was it, Vanderbilt that he came from? I believe Vanderbilt, yeah. So, really, you bring back Xavier, right? You replace Bishop Bonnet with that running back who I'm a big fan of from Georgia State. He's really good, averages about more than 5 yards a carry. He's going to be a dynamic player. This is a really good class for FAMU. It really is. Now that you've addressed the quarterback need, from what I've heard with Jeremy Musso, I think they're ready to go.
So do you think Musso takes McKay's job this fall? I mean, obviously we got a spring ball, we got fall camp, but like how much of a gap do you think that is, or do you think he actually comes in and takes McKay's job?
I think he wins that job. It's not going to be given to him. Yeah, I think he takes that job for sure.
Yeah, that's gonna be one to watch, that quarterback battle down there in Tallahassee, man. I am like the SWAC, like I said, obviously during the heyday of the SWAC, heyday of Black college football was, obviously, we had W.C. Gordon, you had Eddie Robinson, you had some of these great coaches, but there wasn't recruiting rankings. There wasn't 24/7 sports cycles and stuff. There wasn't YouTube and Facebook and all these different things. And so in the modern era, since the 24/7s, the on threes, the rivals, and all this stuff, this is the best time. These are record-setting numbers that these SWAC teams are doing. This is record-setting, whether it's views, whether it's engagement, whatever. And look at all you guys in this chat room. Like, you can tell that people are excited about the product that SWAC teams are putting out there. And not just SWAC. I mean, there's even teams like Howard, I want to say, snagged about 6 3-stars. South Carolina State is reloading. We cannot forget about the Celebration Bowl champs, can we?
Listen, I'll be keeping a close eye on State. I know how special that class is. I'll say this about State. The fact that their recruiting class isn't top 10 in the HBCU rankings is a travesty. I can't even take it serious because the guys that they got, first of all, they got at least 3 defensive backs over 6'1", 6'2", so they've gotten bigger at that position. One of them, who will be an NFL draft pick because of his wingspan, his speed, at his size, like when he develops, he's going to be something great. But the offensive side for South Carolina State, Coach Pugh, that is something that I did not expect from him. People don't realize after South Carolina State won that Celebration Bowl, their phone was ringing off of the hook. Recruits were calling them. They didn't have that luxury for a long time. You feel me? Like, they had one of the lowest recruiting budgets in the NCAA. So after them winning that Celebration Bowl, the phone was ringing off the hook. That's what I was told from Terrence Tucker, who's very close with that program. Now, they just pulled off arguably the fastest player in the state of South Carolina. I mean, you're looking at a kid who probably runs a 4.3, like can take the top off your defense, right? 5'10", 170 slot receiver. That speed is needed for South Carolina State to match Shaquan Davis, who is a possession receiver. They go out and they get 4 of the most electric running backs in the state of South Carolina. One had a 2,000-yard season this previous season, ran for 2K yards. The other one comes from the top program in the state of South Carolina in Gaffney, right? Most of his teammates went Power 5. His size kind of diminished him from going that way. But he was still the top performer and top contributor to that team. He's lightning in a bottle. Like, you just add so much talent, and you got your quarterback of the future. South Carolina State, I wish people would pay attention to their class more, because it's not just freshmen. They got a couple of JUCO guys as well. They got kids who come in and contribute right away as well.
You can't sleep on South Carolina State. And that's the beauty behind the Celebration Bowl. That was the beauty behind Deion Sanders. I mean, I got to give all love to Prime, because more eyeballs were on that Celebration Bowl. It was the second highest rated Celebration Bowl ever. It was the first sellout. It probably got talked about more than any other Celebration Bowl, mainly because Jackson State lost. Like, that was the main reason, because everybody expected them to come in and dominate. And instead, they came in and got dominated. So that is another reason why the buzz, the engagement, all those things happened. And those kids were like, yo, okay, Jackson State, man, Coach Prime doing this thing. But who is that team? Like, who is that team that came in there? And then you heard about, oh, man, that team got the most guys out of all the HBCUs in the NFL right now. Oh, that team's got 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers. Oh, that team, that's where Darius Leonard went to school. That team. Who is that team with that coach has been there for 20 years that I've never heard of, that's putting all these dudes in the league? You know what I'm saying? So, that is why South Carolina State got all those phone calls, because kids who were maybe getting under-recruited, kids who thought they might have been going somewhere, turns out that wasn't the best move, and kids right there in the state of South Carolina was like, yo, I can go play for them and make it to the league, because they have a proven track record, and they got 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers.
Yeah, they've gotten kids who, like I said, like the kid who got overlooked because of his size, like they got kids who could have been, if they were just an inch taller, at Clemson, at Alabama, at Florida. Like they've got kids like that in this recruiting class. People don't realize.
Yeah, man, I cannot wait to see. Like I said, this is the biggest, best thing to ever happen to HBCUs. Like, all of this buzz, all of these headlines, all of these names. It's gonna be so fun. Cobi, we're gonna have to do this again, man, come spring, once the spring game's happening, because we'll start to see how rosters unfold. Once again, I'm talking to CFL, Mr. Cobi Orr of the CFL Podcast. Be sure to go over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. But before we get out of here, Cobi, going into spring, because obviously we're going to do this going into spring. This is the Recruiting Day special where we talked about a lot of recruits, the teams going into spring. We're going to, list our top. Let's go top 4 HBCUs, or top 4, like top 4 or 5. You can do 5 if you want to do 5. The top 5 HBCUs going into spring. We'll reevaluate come after spring, and then do it again come the start of fall. But who's your top 5? If you had to do it like a power ranking, going after signing day, power ranking, top 5 HBCUs, any conference or whatever, who are they and why?
So at number 4, I would definitely put Grambling. I'm intrigued with him. I'm intrigued with that team. I would put Grambling number 4 just because they're a mystery, right? But that can definitely change. Number 3, South Carolina State, right? And the only reason why I got South Carolina State at number 3 is because I'm putting FAMU at number 2. They lost to FAMU the way that they did. I just got to put FAMU
it's
above
respect.
them.
It's respect.
But South Carolina State returns a lot of talent. Corey Fields is a redshirt junior. Shaquan, a redshirt sophomore. Shaquan Davis, redshirt sophomore. Jablonski Green is a freshman. Like, they're all young and contributing the way that they did. So yeah, they're number 3 right now. Then of course FAMU at number 2. You go out and you replace Bishop Bonnet. You still got to find somebody to replace Marquise Bell. That won't be easy, but you return Isaiah Land. You're really a couple away, right? You're still just a couple of pieces away from being in that Celebration Bowl, and I think they might have found their QB with Jeremy Musso, and of course, no surprise there, Jackson State at number 1 because of they just out talent everybody still. Like Travis Hunter, that wide receiver room, right? Tyson Alexander coming back, Semi Moala leading the charge for that offense. They gotten a lot bigger. Shador, freshman of the other year, he comes back. No more weaknesses in the secondary, right? Some people are saying Shiloh. Hopefully he got better in the coverage, But now, Jackson State has to be number 1. That's my top 4.
Yeah, man. My top 4 is the exact same. I'm gonna throw Alabama A&M in there right at number 5, but they could easily move up after spring ball. They can move up Grambling. I think it's gonna be hard for me to move Grambling up simply because they have the big question mark. It is a big unknown, but I have faith in Coach Hugh. I have faith in what he's doing and the players that he's brought in there. So I cannot wait to do this all again, man. After spring games, after we get some of those depth charts, after we know some of the players. Before I get you out of here, Cobi, who is the player? It can be returning or freshman that you're most looking forward to in the SWAC. I'll give mine first. My player coming into next year, coming into fall of 2022, and this is just right now, it could be easily Travis Hunter. That's easily what a lot of people are looking forward to. But I'm looking forward to the growth of Malachi Weidman. I think Malachi Weidman is like a really, really talented receiver. Like, I think I want to see better routes out of Malachi, but I know that it was tough because when he came into camp late, he didn't play the first couple of games for Jackson State, and he still led the SWAC in touchdowns. So I'm looking forward to his growth within that offense, his growth with that air raid style, him and Trevante Rucker, the other wide receiver who I think is extremely talented. Those are the 2 kids that I'm really looking forward to going into next season. I know a lot of people in the comments will tell me about Quay Davis. I'm seeing his name already. Everybody's looking forward to Quay Davis. Quay Davis is the big question mark. I don't know anything about Quay Davis besides he was a highly ranked recruit. But Malachi Weidman, Trevante Rucker are my 2. Who is 1 or 2 of your favorites that you're looking forward to?
See, Quay Davis is one of mine, right? Because I remember the night the news dropped of him, and I saw his tape. I was like, Quay Davis. And then I see his tape, and I saw him leap over a defender, go untouched for a touchdown, 40 yards. And I'm like, oh, this man is a freak of nature, right? So I've been talking a little bit with him on Instagram. I've been seeing the clips that he's posting, right? And he's just bodying dudes in his downtime while he's training. So I'm interested to see what he can become now that the pads are finally on, now that Quay has been freed from his redshirt season. So I'm very interested to see what Quay is going to do. And another kid, I would have to say, he's not even in the SWAC, right? This kid is in South Carolina State's recruiting class. He goes by the name of Marquise Bradley, the 6'1", 200-pound corner with one of the longest wingspans that you ever seen, and runs a 4.4 on top of that. Yeah, like he has college-ready size right now, a pure one-on-one kind of guy, comes from one of the top programs in Gaffney in South Carolina. I'm very interested to see if he can come in and contribute right away.
Yeah, man, I cannot wait, man. Like I said, we've got to do this again. Come spring ball, come spring games, we start to see some of the players. We're going to get footage from those spring games. Might even pull up to 1 or 2 of them, man. Once again, this is Cobi Orr from the CFL Podcast. Be sure to go over there, subscribe to the CFL Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and we will see you next time.